joining us this morning, Sean. What do you make of the appointments that Liz Truss has made so far?
Yes, interesting. You mentioned it looks like a pretty right-wing, unreconstructed Thatcherite, I think you said, cabinet. I think that's probably right. Certainly in the big economic business space in briefs, you've got Kwasi Kwarteng and Jacob Rees-Mogg, who are very aligned to Liz Truss's view on the economy. You know, you want a lower tax, lower regulation, supply-side reform-based economic strategy. Let's see how that goes while they're doling out billions and billions on all these handouts that they've got coming. But I think a couple of really interesting roles are Therese Coffey, who's gone to health, and she's got a massive job. You know, if there wasn't this inflation and energy crisis, we'd be hearing about a massive crisis in the NHS, hospitals falling over, GP services stretched, dentistry is pretty much collapsed. And she's doing that job and the Deputy Prime Minister job. So I don't know how she's going to do both of those. And then you've got the Housing Secretary as well, Simon Clarke, who comes from the Treasury. And he's got a huge brief because there's a housing crisis in this country as well. And, you know, Liz Truss has said she's going to scrap the housing targets and he wants to build more homes. So there's some really big questions about how these guys are going to manage the agenda. But overall, I think it's certainly a positive cabinet from a Conservative point of view.
Well, that they are, undoubtedly inheriting quite a strong task ahead. But on that point about them being perhaps more to the right than Boris Johnson's cabinet, I mean, we are already seeing policy announcements that do seem to be, to some extent, ripping up the rule book, such as the cap on energy prices and so on. So in that sense, are they adapting, or is it just a mere presentation of a kind of Thatcherite, a neo-Thatcherite type of orientation, when actually what's going on requires something quite different?
Well, that's a brilliant question, because at the moment we don't know. What they're doing at the moment is responding to a crisis. Can they move beyond this crisis? There's a big handout coming on helping people with energy bills. That will cost a massive amount of money. And, you know, the traditional Conservative Thatcherite view is that the state should be small and you know, you don't want to be doling out tons and tons of money and paying people's electricity bills, but, you know, the government is obviously being forced to. Whether they can then deliver tax cuts in the current fiscal climate in addition to that is a big question. I mean, it will cost a ton of money if they don't. And if I were in the number 10 team now, I wouldn't be saying let's cut people's taxes on things like income. I'd do it on business, because at least then you've got some sort of measure of a growth effect coming from it. But yeah, brilliant question. That's actually a question in everyone's minds, I think, right now.